Since the earnings report, Progressive is one of the top search stocks in Tykr. So we're going to find out what's going on with the latest news. We're going to dive into Tykr and have a closer look, and then I'll let you know if this is a stock I plan to buy, hold, or sell. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Tepper and I'm the founder and CEO of Tykr. If you're new to investing or want to get better at investing, rest assured you're in the right place. Here at Tykr, we help people buy and sell stocks with confidence. All right, let's talk about the latest news. So they had a really solid earnings report where their EPS beat, but their revenue looked like it missed a little bit. Not a big deal there. We'll dive into the financials here in a second. But the really big news, this is probably what's driving a lot of activity, especially with search engines, which is the declaration of a dividend. So the board of directors has declared a quarterly dividend of 10 cents a share. You're not going to get rich overnight with that, but they're starting to pay their shareholders a dividend for simply holding the stock. So let's dive into Tykr and take a closer look. All right, we're going to walk through the 7. And of course, I always say this, if you're interested, you can go to tykr.com, go to education, and then down to calculations. You can see the calculations are open source for personal use. If you're a math nerd like myself, you want to start throwing in some of the calculus into Excel, you can go ahead and do that. But the goal there is to really just be transparent and increase trust. Now, with this, we're going to walk through the 7 manually, then we'll take a look at the 7 tab, and we'll see what that score is. We're not going to take a peek now. All right, so let's dive in. So the first thing we want to look at is the summary. Stocks in Tykr are either on sale, watch, or overpriced, and only about 15% of stocks in the market make it to on sale. It's actually very hard to do. All right, so looking at my screen here, we can see that Progressive is on sale. Their score, to get to on sale, you need a score of 50 or higher. The score here is the overall financial strength of a stock, and then you need a margin of safety of 80% or higher. Margin of safety is the upside potential. How much can you actually make? So you need 50 and 50 in both or higher. If only one is at 50 or higher, then it's watch. And of course, if they both miss, then it's overpriced. We can see here 85 is outstanding. Very strong financials. And then look at the margin of safety here. People are going to look at the share price and be like, 244? That's too expensive. Don't pay attention to the share price. You want to think like Warren Buffett or his mentor, Ben Graham. You want to focus on fair value. What is the fair value of the stock? This is the estimated share price. We can see $1,200. Significant difference there. So we're looking really good so far. Then in the middle, taking a look at the 4Ms, we're not going to go through this. It takes like a minute or two, but here are the 4Ms. Thanks to Warren Buffett for inspiring us, or really I should say inspiring Phil Town. Phil Town really coined the phrase, the 4Ms, and we put a patent on that. All right, so the math part, that's done for us. Then you have the meaning, how the business makes money and how scalable the revenue streams are. Then you have the moat, how the business compares to other businesses in the same sector and industry. And then the management is the track record of the CEO. Check this out. You want to be 80 to 100. That's high confidence in the stock. Anything 60 to 79 is moderate. And then 59 or lower is probably something you would want to avoid. All right. So I'm going to close this. We can see it's averaging 82. That is incredible. So we're checking all the boxes so far. Then we scroll down and we can see 5-year returns. We like to see stocks that consistently beat the market, not just 1 year, but over 5 years. And the S&P 500 typically returns about 80% over 5 years. So we want those market-beating stocks, those consistent returns that are well above S&P 500. We can see here 175, looking really good. All right, let's keep going here. Financials tab. Earnings per share. This is huge. Look at this. They went from 438 up to 542. It was a nice slow increase, then bam, this big jump. This is what we're looking for. EPS is the number one most important line on the financial statements. Essentially, it's the profits of the company. All right, so last step in the process of the 7 earnings calendar. And we can see they did beat the most recent by 8%, but they had a miss just prior. So with the 7, we're probably going to get a 6 out of 7 here, where you won't get a point here, but everything else looks really good. Yeah, 6 out of 7. Look at that. All green across the board. It's just that earnings, they didn't have 3 quarters in a row. This is that feature that a lot of people use to really cut the wheat from the chaff, if you will, rid of a lot of risky stocks. And let's start looking at the best stocks in the market. In other words, the strongest stocks in the market. Progressive is really moving close to the top of the list. In fact, let me show you filter here. I'll keep this really quick, but this will be like a little cheat code for yourself, is go to assets, go to stocks, and we're going to clear the filters and see how many stocks we have. So we got about 59,000. Let's go ahead and make sure we've got our column in the right place. So you can select what columns you want on and off. And then if you go to arrange the order, you can see here, I like to see the company, the summary, score, margin of safety, 4M, and 7 right in that order. Right after that, you can see I've got market cap and market cap classification. So the 7, let's take a look. We're going to take this filter and we're going to go to, let's go 5 to 7 and see what that number changes to. 59,000 changes to about 1,000. Let's change it to 6 out of 7. 239, there you go. Progressive is in the top of the list there. And then just curious, let's go 7 out of 7. About 23 stocks as we speak make it that high. Very difficult to get to. But anyway, let's move on to what I'm doing with the stock. Now, I have a really solid portfolio of about 10 stocks. I'm going to add Progressive to the top of the list. In fact, I'll show you guys how to do that real quick. I created several watch lists. I'm going to add it to my main watch list. I'm surprised I haven't already. But if anything changes with the stocks on my watch list and I want to sell that stock for a profit, I may consider moving to Progressive. I'd say they're probably in my top 5 favorites. A quick fun fact here, we're going to wrap up, but this is a quote somewhat paraphrased from Warren Buffett, is he actually said his investment in Berkshire Hathaway, which was a textile business, it eventually just became a holding company for other businesses, but he said that was a big mistake. He says what would have been a much better choice was to invest in insurance companies, that reoccurring revenue, whether it's monthly, every 6 months, or once a year. And Geico is one of the insurance companies, or the big one that Berkshire Hathaway invests in. But I look at stocks like Progressive. It's like insurance is one of those things that's it's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. Depending on where you're located, especially here in the States, it's mandated, like auto insurance, and I think homeowners insurance might be. If it's not mandated in all 50 states, it's pretty close. So it's like, all right, so if it's mandated by law and that's a revenue driver for the business, it's a good place to be. So anyway, I like Progressive. Again, I'm going to keep this on my watch list. I'm just holding it. We're right where it's at. Again, I might consider buying it if I sell something in my portfolio. I hope this video was helpful. If you want to buy and sell stocks on your own with confidence and even see my portfolio, you can join Tykr for free. Of course, don't buy and sell stocks based solely on what you hear. Only buy and sell stocks that align with your own personal financial goals. Thanks for checking out this video. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.